everyone, and thanks for joining us on Front Row Politics here on Control TV. I am Gimba Umar. Well, what is happening in just the Plateau State capital for some is just utter chaos, and for others, it is not something that is new. If you remember, just about a week ago, or just a couple of days back, the governor said to his people that you have to come out and defend yourself using whatever means necessary. This is on the offshoot of what has happened in Bokkos, Barkin, Ladi, as well as Riom areas, very hotbeds in the Plateau. Joining me now is Dr. Isua Dogo, who is a security expert and an analyst, well-grounded, of repute in the affairs of security in the middle belt of Nigeria. I want to thank you so much indeed, sir, for joining us on this platform.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. Now, let's get things straight. These attacks, we saw some citizens of Plateau State marching from town to the government house, demanding that these killings must stop immediately. Does it make any sense to you that these people carry out those protests with placards? Or is this just being sensational about the whole issue of attacks on communities in the Plateau?
It makes a lot of sense, because these are the people that have been attacked. These are the commoners that have been killed on a daily basis. And therefore, they have to voice out their feelings. The anger, the pain, the sorrow that they bear can only be partially removed by the protest which they are carrying out. So it makes a lot of sense.
When you look at those videos, the emotions that were just flaring up and down, it's really hard to accept that over 100 people were killed within 2 weeks. I mean, a lot of people thought that these security attacks, security challenges and the attacks have been nipped in the bud. As a matter of fact, the Plateau at some point became peaceful, and we did have an institution or a setting up of an army base between Riom and Barkin Ladi. That was just late last year by the army. I remember that the army commander, artillery, Major General Marcus Kanye, was there. You know, so what is actually happening now? I mean, this is just beyond understanding. What is actually happening in the Plateau?
What has been happening in Nigeria since 20 is what is still happening up to date. And I've said it times without number, that is the same people, the same Boko Haram, whether you are talking of Lapra, whether it is Katsina, whether it's in Zamfara, whether it's in Sokoto, whether it's in Benue, whether it's in Plateau, or any part of Nigeria, is the same group of people. They only use these means to divide attention, to make people to miss their way, and to make the government and the security agencies not to do what is right. And let me tell you, it will be difficult to only do it the way we are talking of, and we will solve the problem. Because they have perfected the art of divide and rule, divide and attack, divide and destroy across the country. Last year, we talked more of Katsina, we talked more of Zamfara, we talked more of Sokoto, am I wrong? And then to some extent, maybe, and even Niger. And now, since the beginning of this year, it has been Benue and Plateau State. You know that, isn't it? And then to some extent, maybe Taraba, you know. And so it is the same group of people using different names, different approaches to ensure they confuse us and even the security agencies so as to maximize their intentions.
Now,
and let me say this.
You are aware that the statements has come out from the authorities that this was carried out by supposed herdsmen. These clashes have been happening. It has happened, as you mentioned, in so many states. But this herdsmen-farmers clash, having known about how this has shaped the security, especially in the north central of Nigeria, is there any lessons that we have learned, judging from the past experiences that we've had?
If it is herdsmen farmers clash, is the clash taking place in the farms? Is the clash taking place during the daytime? Is the clash taking place with the herdsmen and you see them with the cows? Or the terrorists come in the night, attack, kill, and burn people, and anybody will think correctly and say that it is others farmers clash? It's not in the farm. These are not others farmers clash. These are terrorists. These people are hired to do what they know how to do best. And it's the same thing that has been happening since time immemorial. And we're go ahead by accepting the same kind of excuses, and they use these excuses so as to make the commitment by the government not to be as serious as it's supposed to be, to make the international community not to take it seriously, to think it is simply a local thing, to make even the local people not to take it seriously and think it is farmers herders clash. Where is the farmers herders clash here? The clash taking place in the farm. Tell me how many times, how many people were in the farm that they will kill 50 of them or 100 of them. If the farmers herders clash. So it doesn't make the slightest sense to say that it's the same terrorist Boko Haram group and they have their sponsors around. As a matter of fact, the herders that walk around in the city carrying their arms, do you see them with their families? The answer is no. They have no families. These are terrorists. These are hired people from across the globe who are being paid to kill, to destroy, and to carry out the mission of whoever is sending them. So for us to start thinking and talking of herders, farmers clash is absolute rubbish. It is not herders, farmers clash. It is terrorists that are coming out to destroy and to take over our land.
You said that they are hired mercenaries.
Absolutely. If you even go out and talk with many of them.
My apologies. You said that they are hired. I can only imagine that where are they coming from? Where are they hired from? Who is doing this hiring? I mean, we can nip this in the bud. These people are not ghosts. These people can be trapped with technology. These people can be fished out. Is there a sincerity of purpose from the government, do you think?
No, there is no sincerity of purpose from the government. Because since Buhari, since Jonathan's time, we have heard different stories which nothing was done. And I can tell you, it is not me saying it, it was in the public. Jonathan said that that those who are sponsoring this terrorism are in his government, but he never mentioned them. He never did anything to bring them out. Even Azizi, who was his special assistant at that time, as the special assistant for security, said it. It was in the public domain, but they never mentioned the names of the people that did it. I will also have Elrufai who told the whole world that he was paying terrorists to stop coming to kill people from Southern Kaduna. The question I asked was that how did he know where the terrorists were coming from? How did he decide on the money that is supposed to be paid to the terrorists? How did he determine their countries or where they come and he will go to those countries to go and pay them so as to stop coming to kill people from Southern Kaduna? These are public things. They were not hidden. They are all in the media. We also have during Buhari's time, when they arrested the Maran members, they will bring people to Abuja. They will say they are there in DSS, and they will say they have repented. After the repentance, they are allowed to go to wherever they want to go to. And we were even told, it's alleged that they were given a lot of money. It is alleged that many of them were put in the different security agencies, that is the army, the air force, the navy, the police, and any other security agencies. They were employed in government and different parts. Who does that? Tell me how we will say somebody who has been busy killing hundreds of thousands of people across the country in the northeast at that time, and they are arrested, and you say that they have repented, and because they have repented, they are forgiven. Why don't you forgive the murderers or armed robbers or others when they say they are sorry? But those ones, they will say they are sorry, and they are given the liberty to do anything. And therefore, if some of them as alleged that they were put in the armed forces, they will be simply there to provide information to their groups. So until these things are stopped, until they fish out these people that were taken at that time from all the security forces of the country, until every single person who was arrested
If you
or put
were
in the government department in one way or the other is removed
Dr.
and
Dobo,
tried
Dr.
and
Dobo,
sentenced of the
Dr.
problem.
Dobo,
Yes.
you have been a security expert for years, for as long as I've known you. And this is spanning over 20 years. If you were with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he's coming back to Nigeria today, by the way. If you were with him today, what would you advise him to tell his security chiefs concerning the Plateau?
First,
If
I
you
will
solving
ask
this problem,
First, I will ask Tinubu to call Jonathan to give the names of the people he said were sponsoring this terrorism in his government at that time. Secondly, I will ask Buhari to give the details of all the people that were forgiven and why they were sent into the Nigerian armed forces. Thirdly, I would get Elrufai to give details of how he managed to know those who were coming to kill people in Nigeria. That is one side. Two, I will insist that in the first place, the Nigerian security agents are about the best in the world. But one, they are not motivated. Two, they are not given the adequate, like the police, the adequate kind of assistance in terms of weapons and facilities for them to carry their work out. Remember, Babangida virtually disarmed the police because he was afraid that they would organize a coup against him someday. And since then, nothing has happened. They go with next to nothing compared to what the terrorists carry. So that is one side for the police in particular. I'm being very specific with the police because I know our policemen are not lazy people. They are good people. They can do and undo, and they pay them next to nothing. They should also give you. They hardly have houses. They hardly have any good medical attention. They hardly have anything that is good, that is necessary for a policeman to function as a security agent.
but they're given
Whether
so
as
much.
well,
They have been allocated so much, even in the budget. And we're looking at a budget that's over 50 something, 53, I think 53 trillion this time around. Don't you believe that this government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with its praises to itself of being successful in tackling insecurity in Nigeria, at least they say that not many states again, or should I say, next to zero states are being
yeah,
occupied
please.
by Boko Haram now. Don't you think that this government has done, the best it can to try to stop this insecurity? But the pockets of organized, small pockets of crimes here and there is what we should try to contain by the governors themselves.
No, no, let me ask you, how much in the budget is allocated to security compared to what the National Assembly of just a few hundreds are getting, or the executive arm of government, what they are spending? How much is left for the security agencies? Top of the security agencies, the police, the army, the air force, the navy. How much
But
is
for how
assigned
long would
to?
we keep going round on this route? We are making this comparison.
And
We want
that is
concrete
the
solutions.
most.
You've mentioned that you will ask that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu asked former leaders to make, to provide those persons, which they say were in their governments, the ones who said that we have to pay them to. Those are concrete steps to take to try to address this issue. What further can we do as a people, especially the people in the plateau, now that the governor have said, go ahead and defend yourself using any means necessary?
Yes, one, all the governors do have security vote every year. What do they do with the money? And therefore, I am saying, starting from the federal government, the security agencies will be adequately armed and their families taken care of. Two, the state governors to do exactly like that and help the security. I've seen in some instances whereby they bought a lot of trucks and things. That is good. For example, the River State Governor Fubara, I saw a whole line of trucks and all whatnot we bought for the police, or was it the army? I can't remember exactly. And a number of governors have done that. That is correct. And it is not out of order what the governor of Plateau State said, that they should arm themselves and should defend themselves. Because in those communities that they go to attack, if they are ready, they have a lot of young, strong people. If they have the arms and they are trained, you have retired. Look, let me even tell you, you should remember that the Middle Belt is what we call is what holds the security agencies in Nigeria in place. Whether you talk of the Army, Air Force, Navy, or the police, they are the majority. And therefore, we have even a lot of young people retired and do nothing. These people, if they are adequately armed, trained, they can remove any form of intimidation in the Middle Belt. And not just the Middle Belt, across the country, whether you talk of the Northwest or the Northeast, whether you talk of the Senior Secretaries or anywhere, Kaduna State and the like, you can see as it is now, the governor of Kaduna State has been taking some steps that will say that are quite positive. They do not even allow them to start, not to talk of going on. Before they start, they have been fished out and they have been dealt with. That is what is required. Not being proactive, I mean not being reactive, but proactive. Take steps to fish out these people wherever they might be. There is no forest which the local people do not know. And therefore, if they are adequately armed, they will go to all the forests, whatever kind of forest you have in any state in Nigeria, and fish out the criminals. You see, that is the reality. So, but they are not adequately armed. Neither the soldiers, the Air Force, the Navy, or the police are adequately armed. They are not adequately paid. And all the inadequacies are there. It is well known. Whatever is budgeted for them, does it go to them? How much of it is given to them? How
Is
much do they benefit
insecurity,
from?
is insecurity and all these crimes an overwhelming phenomenon for Nigeria?
Absolutely. You don't even have to say it, because the insecurity itself, whether it's taking place in the day or the night, will one make people to be afraid to go out to do their normal businesses. Particularly the aspect of farming, the aspect of trading, the aspect of local traveling to take goods from point A to point B. So it is overwhelming. And it is one of the reasons why, no matter how the government tries, the prices of even foodstuff will never come down the way it should be, because those who are involved are barely surviving, barely
Do you
surviving.
think?
And so
Think?
there are,
Do you think? I'm sorry to interject again. Do you think that the strategy of establishing development commissions across the country? We did have the Niger Delta Development Commission, and then we had the Northeast Development Commission. Now we have the Northwest, the North Central, and all of that. Do you think that these commissions, with their mandates to stamp out insecurity, bring about regional development, bring in development and welfare to the grassroots, to the people, do you think that these commissions will survive the, I mean, will they make up to their mandate? Will they live up to their mandate, especially that of security?
the development commissions are not security commissions. So I doubt much if they will have a single effect on the security issue of these regions we are talking about. They are just commissions set up to further divert and steal public money. And none those who have been appointed to lead the security commissions, are they, I mean, to lead the development commissions, are they security experts? How many security experts are on the board? None, nothing. How will they come up with security solutions? Security solutions is meant for the security agencies to be adequately funded and armed. and to also raise local vigilantes, train them adequately, and arm them as well, and ensure that, look, we talk of state police. Technically, right now, as I'm talking to you, there is hardly a state that doesn't have a state police in a technical sense, because every state has a local vigilante. They are trained, and the only thing difference is that maybe they are not armed the way they should be armed. So they should do this training up to the local government level. If you go to every local government and those people in the local government are adequately trained and armed, is there any area of their local government they don't know? They will know, and they can go out to defend themselves at any point in time, and they can take on those people. This is because whatever, wherever they come from, they can take on them and they can defend their people and they can drag them out. And I can tell you, in my view, there is hardly any part of Nigeria that we don't have these criminals. Whether the criminals, wherever they come from, they exist in virtually every part of this country. And they are using the aspect of divide and rule. And when they go to one side, people concentrate on that side, they point to another one. As I said, last year it was more of Katsina, Sokoto, Zamfara. Am I wrong? And then to some extent, you had Nasarawa and Niger State. Since the beginning of this year, it has been Plateau, Benue, and to some extent Taraba. Do you get it? And who knows which section of the country will take over tomorrow? We have some of these things happening in different parts of the country in a minor way. They only test run to see the reactions and to find out what is happening. But remember, there are three key aspects where terrorism can be controlled. That is, you stop their source of arms supply, stop their source of funding, stop their source of feeding. And can this happen in Nigeria? The answer is yes, it can happen. How do they get their arms? It is not impossible for the DSS and other security agencies to decipher how they get their arms within the shortest time possible. The Nigerian,
Doctor, we have said this time and again. I don't want us to sound like a broken record anymore. We have said that the security architecture in the country, they know how to pursue this to a logical conclusion. You've said that our security details here in Nigeria are one of the best in the world. Why is it that when we come back home, does it seem to suggest that this is an internal plan by the security agencies themselves to shortchange the Nigerian people, instill fear in them, and then get funds to be allocated more and more repeatedly? And it has become a racket.
no,
Is insecurity
I,
a
I,
racket in Nigeria?
I don't think so. I've already explained to you some of the problems. The problem is not from the security agencies. The problem is from the politicians and the leaders of the country, which I told you at the very beginning. I said categorically, Jonathan said that those who were sponsoring it were in his government. What is the big deal telling the names of the people? What is it? He should still know the names of those people who were there. I also said, Elrufai said he was paying terrorists to stop coming to kill us in southern Kaduna. What is Elrufai not alive? Couldn't he tell who were those people he was saying? I have also mentioned Buhari, during his time, they were bringing Boko Haram people and they were being forgiven. They will say that they have repented. What kind of repentance is that? What is the motive of forgiving them and sending them into the armed forces and others? And so the issue is not with the armed forces or the security agencies. The issue is with the politicians, the leaders, the governors, the ministers, the top political places. You have seen even on the social media, even policemen saying that at times they are told not to go after some people. They are told not to even reach out to try and cross these kind of bandits and things of that nature. It is common thing that is all over the social media. You see, we have heard
But
what the
we
DSS
cannot independently. We cannot
times.
independently. I've seen that video. I've seen that video, but we cannot independently verify the veracity or the truth. in that video. However,
Why?
doctor, however,
No, before
this
you
is the
continue, I please, before you continue, I disagree with what you have said. It is
okay.
absolutely necessary and it is very possible to get whoever is involved, wherever he is in the whole world, locally and internationally, whether the person is a security agent or he is a politician. It is possible. If the government desires to do so, they can do so within the shortest time possible. I can tell you, even between now and 3 months down the road, assuming Tinubu starts it in May, they can get all these people within 3 months. It can happen. So it is not, they are not, let me tell you, it is impossible for any of them to be doing it alone. They must have those that they use within the system. The politicians that are involved, and as I told you, when Jonathan said that they were in his government, it is alleged that Aziza was not an accident. They killed him in the plane. That is the allegations. Those that he wanted to bring out their names. Well, thank God Jonathan is still alive. And if you say he knows them and they were in his government, I will assume, that Aziza had told him before he mentioned it, or has shown him the names. And Aziza knew them, and Jonathan knew them. And if Jonathan knew them, probably not only Jonathan would have known them. Also remember, it is not Buhari that was talking to the terrorists and they were repenting in front of him. You have people in the DSS who are still there and they know those that repented, where they went to, how they were treated, and whatever it is. We all don't know too well that in every aspect it is not possible that
Doctor,
they wouldn't
doctor,
know.
because we're running out of time, this is the facts on the ground now. The people of Bokkos, the people of Barkin Ladi, the people of Rio, the people of Basa are now living in fear of continued attacks. We don't know where these attacks are coming from, but that is how they are living today. What must they do? We know that the governor has said that defend yourself by any means necessary. What must the people do now?
The attacks are not coming from heaven. And the level of technology we have at present, wherever the attacks are coming from, they can verify them. You have drones, even the terrorists themselves, they are using drones against the armed forces. And we will say the armed forces cannot use drones to detect wherever they are in whatever forest in the country. It is not possible. All that is required is to do that. And so that is one of the easiest ways of identifying these people and destroying them. The Air Force can do that with speed of light. And in addition to that, as I've said, the people will stand up and defend themselves. But the government has to arm them and they can be trained and they can act very swiftly. Anybody that is coming, if in the night, for example, in any local government or in any city or any town, you have 100 people armed and they have some motorcycles and or they have some Hilux cars that will carry them around before those people will come to start, and they are in every part of the city or every part of the town. Is it possible for them to just come and destroy the whole town like that and go away? It's not. And you have to understand Nigeria, the number of military people in Nigeria, whether it is army, police, air force, or navy, is very insignificant. And it's not like we are talking of 300,000 or whatever it is, even if it is up to 500,000 per unit, it is still small compared to the population and the land size of Nigeria. And for the sake of emphasis, I've also said they are not properly armed. I don't even talk of, I don't even want to talk much about their salaries or their emoluments, which are not encouraging because assembly arms is probably more than what all the armed forces own.
That will
And
be
you
a
will
good
see,
place. That will be a fantastic and a good place to let it rest. Dr. Iswa Dogo, bringing you out of the shell. Now you've been in hibernation and totally refusing to comment on national issues, especially those that have to do with security. Since 2018, I think that should be the last time that you came, but I want to sincerely thank you for giving us that consideration and respect to come on our platform, Control TV. And for those who are watching, you can always watch us again. This program will be syndicated on our YouTube platform, as well as Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram. You can get it on just about all our social media platforms, just so that you know, and you can always follow here on Control TV. This is Front Row Politics. I'm Gimba Umarone. Thank you so much indeed again, Doctor, and to everyone who's watching. Have a great
Thank
night.
you very much.